Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi, I'm Faik. Today I'm going to present the impact of part-time job that affects student concentration in study. So this research basically was conducted and was done with my team members. Thanks to them. Okay, so we move to the introduction. So for the first one, part-time job has become a new norm for students in university during this pandemic era. So this is due to some of them might have their own reason why they choose to have a part-time job. The second one is the money issue or extra pocket money will always be the reason why part-time job is important among them. This is due to some of them might not have. Sorry, this is due to some of them might not come from a wealthy family or a middle income family, and they might need to have a part-time job in order to cover up all the daily expenses, especially in the educational purpose. The third point is the intention to sharpen their skills like business and communication. Also, the reason why some of them have part-time job. This is because not everything will be taught in class. That's the thing that I believe. So the last point is it might lead to bad consequence. So when talking about consequence, we can relate it with the GPA. The GPA or the student's performance will always be the benchmark for those who have part-time job with those who don't. The consequences, whether it's good or not, can be found in the next section. So we move to the objective. Okay. So the objective of the research is to study the impact of part-time job towards students' concentration. I believe this objective is crucial because we can know a lot of things that we don't know regarding to the students' concentration. Okay, so for the next part, I will let my team members do further this session. Thank you. That's all from me.
Hello and Assalamualaikum. Today I would like to present about the methodology and literature review. First thing, we move to methodology. The way of getting the result from this research was using questionnaire form. The study was conducted within 2 weeks and formed that 104 respondents, specifically students from various universities and institutes locally in Malaysia, participated. The questionnaire was distributed in one set to each of them, and each set contains two sections with the number total of 7 questions. Among the selected questions are part-time job that students do during their studies in universities, university student currently studying, preferred part-time job during study among students, hours committed by student doing part-time job, monthly allowance provided by institution or scholarship is enough, part-time job will give impact towards study, doing part-time job affect your concentration in learning. From this method, we can see that 46.2 students from 104 students doing part-time job during their studies. Next, we move to literature review. In today's time, numbers of students that doing part-time job is increasingly day by day. It is because the allowance provided by the sponsors or parents is not enough. Students participate in a number of part-time employments such as they work as food delivery riders, e-hailing services, and running a small business. It is proven that students believe that their study were affected due to their part-time employment. Moreover, students had no time for doing the assignment. Also, students could not perform their class activities easily with their part-time job. It was very difficult for them to show their academic performance since students could not participate in co-curricular activity with their part-time job. Students believe that absenteeism, lack of concentration on lesson due to tiredness, and etc. were the reason for affecting their academic performance due to part-time employment. However, students may become tired and devote less time to studying, making it difficult to strike a balance between working part-time and study. Some students may find it difficult to complete assessment and may miss class. Students must have an appropriate number of working hours and must make every effort to balance job and school-related responsibilities. In others' perspective, there is a huge belief that students who work part-time have lower academic performance because of their part-time is shared with their work time. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Muhammad Anik Danish. For my part, I will present about data collection and analysis that we have gathered by doing questionnaire. For the first question, in the survey we asked, do you have any part-time job during your studies in university? There were a total of 104 response from the students, and the majority did not do part-time job with 53.8% and other 46.2% did part-time job. With only small percentage difference, we could see that a lot of them have some financial problem. They also need to spend more on essential things like tuition, books, foods, and others. So by doing part-time job would help them financially during their studies. For the next question, we observe from which university that the students do part-time job the most. From the survey, we can see that the majority of the student is from University Kuala Lumpur, which is located in main city of Selangor. This concludes that the big cities like this location will offer more jobs and opportunities to the students as the city benefits of having large population. For the third question, we asked for preferred part-time job during study among students. From the response, we could see that the majority of 37.5% respondents chose freelance. Then it followed by 20.8% for food delivery, 16.7% for business, and 10.4% for e-hailing. The least preferred part-time job among the students were F&B, waiter, shop retailer, and crew. Majority of the students chose freelance because it gives them more freedom of choice for their time and moving forward without restriction that will benefit them. Next, we observe on hours committed by students doing part-time job during studies on their weekends and weekdays. From the graph, most of the students spend their time doing part-time job is less than 10 hours for both weekend and weekdays. Meanwhile, there is a few students spend for average between 10 to 20 hours of their time during weekend and weekdays doing part-time job. Approximately, no students spend more than 20 hours of their time doing part-time job in weekend or weekdays. The response by the student above conclude that the student only use little of their time, which means their free time for that part-time job purpose, as they need to spend more time for their studies. This also shows that the student really understand which is more important between study and spend their time doing part-time job, despite the struggle they were facing. The time management should not be an issue because they know how to use their time wisely. I think that's all from me. For the other data and analysis, I will pass to my other team members, Mr. Izzat. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Khairul Izzat Fahmi bin Haslim. So today I will present about the 4.5 and 4.6. So first one is I will start with 4.5. So for the 4.5, the rating that monthly allowance provided by institution or scholarship is enough or not towards students. So based on the chart 4.5, we can see that 75% from them strongly disagree and 25% from them agree. So we can see that from this chart, the majority of students that takes this survey strongly disagree with the allowance provided by the institution. So the majority is 75% and the minority is 25%. So we talk about the majority first. So the majority are strongly disagree about the allowance provided by the institution. Maybe because even though they are the part-timer worker, they must do the job like a full-timer worker. So the allowance provided by institution are not enough, are not reasonable for them, and also not affordable for them, because they are used full of strength to do the work. So the minority is 25%. The 25% maybe they do the work based on their passion, based on their maybe the work is easy and they feel like the allowance provided by the institution is affordable and reasonable for them. So even though the student are gaining new experience, gaining new knowledge, but the allowance provided must be affordable also with their work. So we move to the 4.6. So for the 4.6, they think that part-time job will give impacts towards study. So we give the factor that impact towards study when students do the part-time job is, we give for the 4 factor, which is the first factor is poor class attendance. The second factor is late submission of assignment. The third factor is poor exam results. The fourth factor is not having enough rest. So, from this chart, from this data, we can see that 3 out of 4 impacts towards study, which is poor class attendance, late submission of assignment, poor exam results, give a neutral data. So most of the students are like neutral with this impacts. So they don't feel like this this factor does not give impact to them. But for the not having enough rest, the highest one is agree, and the second highest one is strongly agree. So we can see that about 70% of them are agree, and 16% are strongly agree about this. So the work that they done, they did not have enough rest, so it will give them the impact to study, or maybe some of them cannot give a full attention to their study because they are too tired. They cannot revise about their studies. So we can see that the student even though the student just work for their own pocket money, they also a part-time worker, so they need a rest because they still a student. So they do a part-time worker because they want to find the pocket money and to support their financial problem. That's all from me. Thank you.
Does doing part-time job affect your concentration in learning? If it does, or if it does not, please state your recommendation down below. In figure 4.8, based on the figure above, we can see that most of the students did not have any trouble on concentrating in their studies. There are 8.3% of the respondents stated that the concentration of learning is solely come from the student itself. There are a lot of things that can be done in order to achieve a high self-motivation to concentrate more on the studies and learning. One of the solutions is to make a timetable or a time management plan so that we can balance out the studies and our working hours. Second highest is a 6.3%, which is neutral response. The respondents mainly choose that they did not have any trouble in concentrating in their studies because of the maturity. The struggle that they have been through in their previous studies may have been the key point to the balancing of their time. Moreover, all of the respondents come from the respectable universities, which can be said about the outcome of the figure above. Only a minority of the respondents, which is a 2.1%, that have a problem concentrating with their studies. Maybe this is because of the assignments and also the time given to finish it is non-sufficient. This is actually a major problem which all of us students may have been facing right now. Plus, the course taken by each of the students differ from each other. We can conclude that each of the course have their own difficulty, which can be said about the assignments given and also the mini project of a certain subject. mainly the concentration of the studies staying true to the student itself to achieve it. If the student, his or herself, didn't have the heart to grasp the difficulties of concentrating, then it will have a different outcome. Moving on to 5.0, conclusion. The summary research have been done, and based on the answers given by the respondents, most of the students did not have any serious negative impact towards their studies other than not having enough rest. This is because the time consumed by having a part-time job and concentrating in the studies while finishing the assignments given is taking the toll out of the body. Thus, having not enough time to rest might have an effect towards the student's concentration in studies. Given that some lecture may be long, the students might become sleepy. Aside from that, in table 4.6, 75% of the students responded that the monthly allowance provided by their respective universities is not enough, which may be the case that the students do part-time job. From the table in 4.8, it is stated that most of the students did not have any problem concentrating on their studies. This may be because of the time management done by the students. Even though that a part-time job may consume time and energy, it is possible to balance out the studies, assignments, and work. A good time management is crucial, even though the students did not even have a part-time job, since it will make studies more efficient. In conclusion, part-time job did not affect the students' concentration in study. Even so, there may be a bit of the impact received by the minority of the respondents, but most of the respondents states that the concentration of learning depends on the students itself.